It's 6 o'clock, regular meeting of the Windsor Heights City Council. Roll call.
Susan Sears. Here. Joseph Jones. Here. Fletcher Berry. Here. Lauren Campbell.
Here.
Teresa Harms.
I made it.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
Yep,
All right.
I'm good.
All right.
Everything's fine.
Sure.
Yep. I'm starting.
Approval of the agenda.
Vote. Second.
Roll call.
Susan Sears.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Fletcher Berry.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
All right, 3A, public hearing on 74th Street improvements, proposed contract documents and estimated costs for repair or improvement. Motion.
So. Second.
Roll call.
Susan Sears.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Fletcher Berry.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Evening, Dustin Bowman. We had the bid opening last Wednesday, right? The 10th. Is that too?
Yep. Adam.
We received 3 bids, are pretty close to each other with the estimate or the responsible low bid of MPS Engineers. The CDBA Kingston ECA, so C, sorry. Everything checked out in the bids, so we're for you to move forward. I guess unless Adam has something else.
Well, tonight we just have the public hearing and then discussion on it. We'll bring it back for full consideration at the next council meeting. You want to talk a little bit about the alternates?
So we did 2 alternates on this one. Both those alternates really have to do with the storm sewer going from 73rd over to the creek. There's 2 systems that run on the north side of the road, or north side of the area, and then the south side. So it's made up of CMP pipe. We've been, what was that, last summer, we had part of the north part clean because we couldn't televise it, so you probably remember that. And then the south part, we didn't. We had it televised, a year or so ago. Started to, the CMP is rotting out, rusting out at the bottom, so at some point we had to fix that. Alternate A was to go in there and fix the bottoms of it. I just kind of put a quantity in there because we don't know how much is actually needed because we couldn't fully televise it because it was rusted out at the bottom. Then alternate B was to fully line it, similar to what they do with sanitary sewer. It's a PVC lining that we can go in there and put that through. So my recommendation at this time was to go ahead with alternate A to get that fixed, and then we get it televised, and then we completely see what needs to be done, and get a quantity and bid that out at some other time. So hopefully that makes sense.
And then I guess if there's any public comment, and then if not, there's a little bit more discussion, I suppose, but it's probably better fitting under the discussions portion.
Okay. Any public comment?
Our staff.
There's people online. I see no hands raised.
No one sent a message saying they have comment.
Okay, is there a motion to close?
Move to close. Second.
Roll call.
Susan Sears.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Fletcher Berry.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
All right, 3B, discussion of 74th Street improvements, proposed contract documents and estimated costs for repair or improvement.
So as Justin mentioned, the staff recommendation is to move forward with the lowest qualified bidder. This is probably a familiar name for the council. They've done some work in Windsor Heights previously. 2018, they did a PCC patching project. I think that went relatively smooth from what I understand, and historical documents show there's no liquidated damages on that project, but they did also complete a 2017 sidewalk improvements project. That project did go into liquidated damages in the amount of $20,000. That would have been the sidewalk on 64th, 63rd, and El Metro. So obviously some time has passed since that project, but that one did not go as smoothly.
What year was that? Sorry.
2017. So we just want to make sure council had the opportunity to discuss this. If you had any additional questions or would like us to do any additional research, we certainly can. We did call over to some other cities that they've done work for more recently. The conversations I had were the projects had been completed successfully, even if there was some timeliness issues, which is not unusual. I think Justin's feedback that you got was similar to that. The alternative B piece as well, I think our general thought is let's hold off on that in part. We'd like to see what completion of alternate A shows us. And we may be able to get a more advantageous bid at the future just by doing alternate B at some point as a standalone project and not through a subcontractor. So with that, kind of welcome any feedback or further discussion on it. Otherwise, we'll plan to bring this back for consideration at the next city council meeting.
We'll just say that as somebody who lived through the sidewalk fiasco, it gives me a little bit of concern. Because I realized that it was $20,000 worth of liquidated damages, but it was painful to live through. And I just don't want that to continue to happen to our residents since we've had some other unfortunate road repairs here. So hoping that once they figured out our sidewalks, they proceeded and it sounds like they were better with other cities, but it just gives me a little pause.
What's led to some of the timeliness issues? Is it backup and needs for supply? Is it they're correcting their mistakes? Both?
A lot of it typically comes down to allocation of resources. Some contractors end up with more projects than they may have anticipated just because bids come out at different cycles and sometimes you get lucky and get a few extras. And I think that is often where contractors run into issues where they get spread a little thin. But seniority of project managers can also play a big role in how successful a project is in getting completed timeliness, as can the subcontractors that they ultimately hire on that. Those we don't know in this instance yet.
And we do have Bolton and Mink kind of watching over this project as well, kind of like we've had in other areas, right? That was something that
Yeah, and
approved.
that's where our job gets a little tricky, is we can't necessarily tell them what to do. We're there to make sure they're doing it for the plans and specifications, right? So controlling how they schedule things is not our gig. I will say we probably get in the weeds too much on that because we do end up doing a lot of hand holding, even though we probably shouldn't, but unfortunately that's kind of how it turns out these days. So go above our needs at some point. So but yes, we are there the best we can, I guess.
When you have a contractor that's experiencing difficulties in performing, we tend to see our services bills go up from Bolton and Mink, as we would expect them to, because they spend a lot more time on site. But that can lead to an additional cost to the city in an effort to try to make sure the project gets done correctly and on time. I guess just as a reminder, there are performance incentives on this contract as well as bid. So if they were to meet those objectives, they would be seeing a little bit of an extra incentive on this project as opposed to past projects.
Why are there so many names?
MPS Engineers versus Kingston.
Yeah.
They previously did business under the name Kingston Services, but now I think they have listed in their bids MPS Engineers, but it's still associated with Kingston Services. So we're just trying to make sure we spelled that out correctly. MPS Engineers is essentially Kingston Services, although they may have gone under some sort of an ownership change or at least a business name change.
Why? Find out why. Fair question.
Your question?
No other comments? We'll plan to bring this back for consideration at the next meeting.
Okay. Public forum. Time set aside for comments from the public on topics of city business other than those listed on the agenda. No action may be taken. Please come to the podium or raise your hand. No action may be taken. Please come to, raise your hand. State your name and address for the record and keep your comments to no more than 5 minutes. Public comment?
No messages from online.
Consent agenda.
Move to approve. Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones. Fletcher Berry.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
6A, Resolution 2026-07, Build Grant. AJ?
Yes. So we're asking this evening for approval on the resolution to authorize the city to submit this year's build grant, formerly known as the RAISE grant. It's just being wrapped up right now with the MPO. So once we have a completed draft, we'll get that circulated to council. It will look similar to what it looked like last year, which was a significantly revamped application. We had a good feedback session with the DOT late last year. Our 2025 application received 5 high scores, 3 medium scores. That was a significant increase from 2024, but there's a very limited amount of awards granted in 2025 as the administration's changed. So this is a reminder, I guess, in 2025, there's the addition of the pedestrian bridge over Walnut Creek. And both the city of Des Moines and West Des Moines agreed to contribute $50,000 towards that pedestrian bridge, subject to the receipt of the then RAISE grant. We also included a whole host of additional information on the pedestrian access issues that have been experienced on 73rd Street, the addition of some environmental materials, some traffic signal changes for safety, and some additional tree plantings and environmental analysis are proposed as part of this year's changes for the application. The hope is if we can get one more of the scoring categories into the high category, that would get us into the highly recommended bracket for consideration. That's important in part because of their scoring matrix looks at historically disadvantaged communities as part of their criteria for an award. We are not a historically disadvantaged community. And so applications that fit within the recommended category, which is what we were last year, typically are in that historically disadvantaged population area if they receive a grant. So we have some variables that are outside of our control here, just as far as economic development that this project allows for. And the safety is what the safety is. But I think with the work that Bolton and Mink has been doing on the engineering and some additional lighting analysis and taking some of the feedback that we received last year on just a few ways that the application was structured, and moving some of the analysis into the narrative section, which is the first kind of threshold that you have to cross as a review of that narrative. If you score a certain point there, then they move on to the data analysis. But some of our information in the data analysis didn't get looked at because it didn't score past that first section there. So it's pretty minor tweaks this year overall. But again, if we can move up one more bracket in there, then we have a pretty strong chance of getting funded. The application amount this year did change. We received a $2 million STPG award last year from the MPO. So that cost has been removed from the eligible expenses for the build grant. And then as we've moved forward with engineering this year, and as we'll continue to do engineering, we've previously included the engineering costs as part of the applicable expenses. But if we were to do that, we risk having to redo some of that work, having to go out for another RFQ on who our engineering firm would be on that, and meeting some other federal requirements for the engineering. and then the actual observation of the construction of the project. So our recommendation is go ahead and remove that engineering cost, continue to incur those expenses internally and include that as part of the non-eligible cost match. And that would then include a total projected city cost for the project of just under $9 million. We've also been talking to the DOT about any potential contribution that they would be interested in doing on this because we're touching the on-ramp and the off-ramps. There may be some minor grant opportunities with them, but it's, I think, a fairly low priority for the DOT to reconfigure those on-ramp and off-ramps at this point. So depending on whether or not a build grant is ultimately obtained, there's maybe some opportunities to revisit how we would touch those on-ramp and off-ramps, how we might structure the pedestrian access if the rail use were to cease in the near future. And then a few other pieces that might change with the removal of the rail as well as far as crossings and configuration of the road. So there's a few balls up in the air right now, but I think we're in the best position we can under the information that we've currently got with where the railroad trajectory is going. And the recommendations go ahead and move forward with making the application, and hopefully we'll get funded this year. If not, we'll probably have one more opportunity to submit a build grant application next year before we're going to be getting pretty close to construction, and council will be making some decisions on phasing and how to break the project up and fund it without a build grant at that point.
Any discussion or questions for AJ?
Move to, do you need a motion to? Yes, I'll move to approve the submission of the application. Second.
Further discussion?
So with that variable of the rail line, if we do end up changing plans and can use that we don't jeopardize anything with this grant application?
The grant application includes both a pedestrian bridge and a sidewalk access along the east side of 73rd Street. And all that would be done presuming that the railroad is still in place at that point. So we can achieve our objectives with the railroad in place. If the railroad were to become abandoned, become a trails project or something like that, I think we'd have the opportunity to discuss modifications to the project that would still meet the goals listed under the build grant application at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Fletcher Berry.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
6B, consideration of resolution number 2026-11, a resolution approving the mural installation and maintenance agreement with Ruth Colby Trust A.
Move to approve. Second.
AJ?
Yes, so we have a draft agreement from Colby Interest to allow for the installation of the mural on their west wall there at the corner of 66th, the northeast corner of 66th and University, and then potentially underneath the walkway as well along University on their entire strip of properties there. Been having some public art and communication committee meetings about getting the RFQ process kicked off. And Adam, we've got something scheduled, I think, in the next week or two for that committee.
I need to get the calendar invite out, but it's the end of March.
End of March. Okay.
Yes.
So on the radar to kick that process off with Liz Lidgett, but this would formalize the city's ability to install that mural and then maintain it. The terms that Colby Interest has agreed to is an initial term of 5 years after the effective date of this, that they would allow that mural to remain, but anticipating that barring some significant change to the building or buildings, that would automatically be renewed for an additional 5 years and potentially beyond that, depending on the condition of the mural and any changes to the development or the building structures there. Beyond that, the city is largely responsible for installing that mural and then any maintenance that would occur if there's graffiti on the mural. The city would have the right to make those repairs or potentially terminate the agreement and allow for it to be removed at that point. The agreement also stipulates how access can be granted by the city to the muralist for its installation, and talks about Colby Interest's involvement in the RFQ process and selecting the artists and the actual mural artwork. And then they and city council would have final approval over that mural design once the committee has a recommendation on how to move forward with that. Happy to answer any questions council might have. Otherwise, this would be our path forward to utilizing the Bravo grants along with the city funding. And then in the consent agenda today, there was also a secondary grant application that we're pursuing to reduce the city's costs further as well.
Discussion, questions? Roll call.
Stephen Skirries.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Fletcher Berry.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Reports, mine is in the packet. Ms. Harms?
Just had MAC, which we largely talked about legislative issues, including property tax was probably the topic of discussion. And then in our budget committee, that's it. I think that's everything.
Campbell?
I attended the Reimagined Art celebration 2 weeks ago. Thanks to everyone for coming out for the Bravo Gala. Glad that our city was supporting Bravo for all that they've done for the grants that we've been awarded the last couple of years. I think are going to have a great impact. So that's all I got.
Eric?
Attended the City View Awards, Best of Awards, where the chamber won its 13 consecutive Best Local Chamber, and that'd be our third year as a merged chamber between Windsor Heights and Urbandale. Was orientated to have my first meeting with Icon Water Trails, and looking forward to their site here in Windsor Heights. That looks like it's kicking off here shortly, or already is today. Let's see, had an educational session with the DART CEO for newly elected officials, just to get up to speed on the Reimagine program. And then I encourage everyone to attend this Friday's ribbon cutting for New Windsor Heights Business Heart Space Massage at 4 p.m.
It's there on University, if nobody in the Gravitate
Mhm.
complex, just so everybody knows where it's at. If you give me an address, you tell me Gravitate, or, I can get there, or a Casey's, or,
Jones?
DART budget workshop Wednesday afternoon, 3:30 to 5 or 5:30, somewhere like that. That's it.
Carries?
Pretty much just looking forward to all of the sponsorships. I've been talking to a lot of local businesses here recently. I've acted kind of as a resource for them, answering their questions, making sure they find sponsorship that fits what they're looking for, and connecting them with volunteers to help them get the contracts signed. So feedback has been good. These businesses truly love that we work so hard to keep our events free. I've heard that over and over again, free or low cost for the community. And they're really excited to help make that happen. So that was good that we're getting out there and the word's getting out. Veterans Day, we're officially sold out of sponsorships unless you want to donate some gift cards. Earth Day, we're close to being sold out there. I think there's like $1,000 sponsorship, but planning mode, I've been busy answering logistical questions for Touch a Truck, Movies in the Park, Fall Festival, Windsor Wonderland. So it's been fun, and just kind of getting those sponsorships sealed up. So last Wednesday, I attended the National Civility Summit that Drake and the Robert Ray and Billy.
Right.
Yes, them. So it was a great reminder that most of the time people just want to be listened to and heard. So keeping our words kind, truly listening is the best way to de-escalate any situation. It was a really good 3 or 4 hour civility. I mean, it was pretty good to listen to. Then on Thursday, I toured Waterworks with the Greater Des Moines Partnership. I'm hoping to set up a tour for our Women in Government group soon at one of the area water facilities, yet to be determined where we'll go. I attended the executive board meeting 2 weeks ago, and then we have the regular board meeting this Wednesday. Friday, our Women in Government group meets at Catch Des Moines to hear from lobbyists, including Therese, on what to expect from the legislature this year. Reminder, we do not have a special events meeting on Friday. And then, as Fletcher said, we have the ribbon cutting at Heart Massage. And then I'm attending a lunch and learn, don't really remember what it's on.
You're gonna learn.
I'm gonna learn about something. And then the Des Moines Performing Arts Legislative Reception on Thursday, which is always fun to go through and see the back of whatever is in town. That's basically it.
All right, closed session.
Move to go into closed session.
Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Fletcher Berry.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Work session, Windsor Heights City Council. Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yeah, here.
Joseph Jones.
Here.
Fletcher Berry. Here. Lauren Campbell.
Here.
Teresa Harms.
Present.
Item 2, review city council budget, CIP, ERP.
I'm sorry.
It's your turn.
The reason we're here is still.
We should never have meetings this long. Get us falling apart.
No one's heard go with us either.
AJ, did you want to start or do you want me to start?
Oh, give me a minute here. All right, so here is the game plan. I think if everybody's all right with this. We've had individual meetings or finance committee meetings with everybody at the dais and been trying to just get general feedback from everybody to date. Some of that feedback is incorporated into this draft budget here today for further conversation, consideration. Some of it, I think, is still outstanding for further conversation, but the finance committee has met and looked through many of the items that we had pointed out in individual conversations and suggested a few cuts that would reduce the staff proposed levy from a 15-cent levy increase down 6 cents to a 9-cent levy increase. And so that is the levy sheet there, the fiscal year July 2026 to June 2027 that's attached. I have a copy of it here if anybody's interested in it, but that would put the levy rate at $14.30 and some fractions of pennies there. But we still do have a number of points to kind of talk through and get feedback on. So I'm just going to kind of march through those along with Rochelle and try to get your feedback there. And if that results in further levy rate changes, that's kind of our main goal here this evening, is to try to reach a consensus on what the levy is, understanding there still may be some additional points of conversation as we proceed for fiscal year 27, but also looking forward beyond fiscal year 27, where there's, I think, other operational changes that have been discussed and need to continue to be discussed as we go into fiscal year 28 and then fiscal year 29, where the city's general fund levy is required to decrease under the current legislation. Rochelle, what do you think? Should we go through the actual binder and the department budget section so everybody gets that? Don't usually get a lot of feedback on that. So if folks want to, we certainly can. Otherwise, we'll kind of skip to the important questions and we can circle back on that if needed. The first piece then is non-union compensation. That has been proposed by administration at 2.7% average. So that is in line with what we're seeing inflation trends right now. It's a little bit lower than the ECI, which we've used sometimes in the past. But that would be perfectly aligned with what our taxable valuation increase is. And the intent would be, that would be the average non-union compensation increase. Some folks that are low on the salary study, but high performers, may get more than 2.7%. Some folks that are right at the top end of the salary study are performing just fine, but at the very high end of their salary study may get less than 2.7%. But unless you're at the maximum, everybody would still get some sort of cost of living increase, but it would not necessarily equate to 2.7%. That would be the average. I think we've had general support for that one. So if there's any concerns on that or a desire to change it, there was some feedback, I think, that no less than 2.7%, maybe go up to 3%. But that's where we're currently at on this, and I'll just keep going unless somebody has something else to say. The next piece then is merit pay, kind of that bonus. So that is all non-union employees are eligible for a merit pay, typically paid out in July. The city council sets that percentage each year from 0% to 3%. And then it's based off of your performance, and whatever that budget is set at, it determines how much of that merit pay bonus is paid out. The finance committee recommendation is to suspend that for fiscal year 27 and perhaps take a larger look at the overall compensation plans that we offer, the merit bonus, the deferred compensation, longevity, some other kind of fringe benefits that are within there, and maybe come up with something a little bit more comprehensive on how we tackle these kind of additional compensation pieces beyond just the typical wage rate. So that would be a change from the staff recommended budget, which is 2% budgeted for the merit pay bonus. And one other suggestion I would throw out there is we are still going through fiscal year 26. We may end up not having a surplus in fiscal year 26. We may end up having a small surplus for fiscal year 26. As opposed to potentially just suspending it, we could wait and make that final determination at the end of this fiscal year. If there is a budget surplus in fiscal year 26, some portion of that could potentially be used to pay out a merit pay or a bonus at the desired percentage at that point. Just one option, kind of reflecting on the finance committee meeting late last week. It's an alternative for that, so I'm going to throw it out to you. But the budget as currently proposed would be suspending at 0% that merit pay bonus for fiscal year 27. And then taking the opportunity over the next 4 or 5 months to look at that overall compensation package to see if there's some alignment that can occur among all of those, whether there's a seniority element that's kind of universal in there, or narrow it down to 1 or 2 of these and focus on that as opposed to having 3 or 4 different packages. But I think that was the interest of the finance committee was, let's take a holistic look at that and see where we want to land for going forward in fiscal year 28, 29. Any other comments from the finance committee on that recommendation or thoughts on how to proceed?
I like the idea of looking at if there's a budget surplus and allocating some dollars from there, if that's available.
Even if it's 0.5%.
Yeah,
I mean,
because I think, we're trying to do as much as we can with less, and I think doing that acknowledges that we would like to be able to do merit, but.
And from the general fund, it's $17,000 is about what the kind of dollars you're talking about. From road use tax is about 10. So, okay. As it currently stands at 2%, I should add that. Yeah.
Just a reminder on this, so you have your guaranteed raise, right? And then you have your merit-based pay raise. Then when you start adding these all up together, in addition with everything else, when I think one of the latest studies I just looked at, average pay increases 2 to 3% in the private sector. Of all things. So something to keep in mind.
So I will keep it at the Finance Committee recommendation, unless there's further conversation or a majority opinion otherwise. The next item then is the DART levy rates. We've had various conversations on what the appropriate levy rate would be for Windsor Heights residents based off of the level of service and the current DART formula. They have the ability to levy up to 95 cents. Did I get that correct? According to the formula, they would only need to levy 87 cents. The Finance Committee's last conversation was around potentially doing 90 cents or something in that vicinity, something above 87 cents, but less than 95 cents. I don't care if somebody from the Finance Committee would like to talk about that any further, but I think that's kind of where we're at. It doesn't impact our budget per se. It impacts residents' levies, but it wouldn't have any impact on our fiscal year 27 budget. But you have a meeting coming up, so you probably need feedback pretty quick.
We should have some feedback pretty soon.
Were you on board with the 90 or?
Yeah, I mean, Teresa and I discussed that, and the fact that we recognize that our citizens in general are all going through the idea of having an increase in their living overall, and we have the opportunity to lower some of the levy, but also maintain our support for transit and what it means for us to be a part of DART, and knowing that we're getting increased service from what we had before. It also helps that we're already paying 95 cents. So, but I also get that people are going to be scrunched for dollars too. So it's 8-cent difference that would, in theory, take away from the 9-cent increase that we're proposing to. It'd only be 1% overall if we were to go to 87 cents. As always, Teresa really, really made her point.
What?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and I got it, and it made sense to me too. And I thought that 90 cents would be a nice gesture as well. And again, I think anything that we're doing above and beyond is great. And DART's not expecting us to go over 87 cents. It's just kind of has been our nature and how we approach funding transit in our community. So happy with wherever we land. But I think the fact that we rode the tide long enough to get to a point where we don't have to write an extra check and are not at 95 cents is a big deal for the overall work that we've been doing on all of this for so long.
I like the 90 over the, going above the 87, since we're going to have even more frequent service in Windsor Heights. And so I think that is a nice show of goodwill too from our city into the DART region.
I said, I think what the value of it for us is the economic development factor, right?
Right.
I mean, so that's what we have to look at. Understanding that isn't necessarily our residents that are using the transit, but it's what brings in for our business community.
I'm fine with that.
What does that equate to? 3 cents different to a homeowner? Like $12?
Well, what's the full 8 cents? Was it like $20 or so?
I knew this question was going to be asked today. I meant to find the time to math it out, but yeah, you're talking less than $5, I think.
A year.
Yeah.
On a $275,000 house. Isn't that the average, 275?
Yeah, and then the tax valuation, then it's gonna be like 175,000. So then you've got 3 additional cents off of that from the rollback. So
You did the math again. So yeah, $5.
Less than $10 is my assumption.
well less than 10, I think, yeah. We got 4 people for yes, so we'll take that and move on. Next question then is the fire department part-time budget increase that is proposed right now at $15,000. We did have some conversations here today about whether that is the appropriate number or not. So that is what's currently programmed. Is there interest in increasing that, decreasing that, or keeping that at $15,000? And again, just for context, $15,000 will get us several hundred hours more of coverage for 3 people. But it would be kind of a trial run to a certain extent to see how many part-time staff want to sign on for a 12-hour shift as opposed to a 6-hour shift. Is that correct, Chief?
12-hour shift to a 24-hour shift.
Well,
But they would have to do the whole 24. They couldn't just come and work the next shift.
so we can get a little bit of a sense at how much interest there is in that, and if the transport revenues continue to increase, maybe opportunity to do that further. It would help increase our response capability in Urbandale in particular, where we have some restrictions where we're not running with a 3-person shift. And it's just general practice, best practice to be able to respond with an engine with 3 people and certain type of medical calls with 3 people as well. So it's a good goal, but it's a difficult goal to fully obtain. This would be one small step towards that. It's just a matter of how big of a step we want to take, given the budget constraints.
I think 15,000 for a pilot sounds good. For a pilot program, I mean.
And it is in the budget currently, so 15,000 is, yeah.
Not hearing any feedback alternative to that, we will keep that at 15. The next item is the comprehensive plan. We talked about this with everyone. I think there was a little bit of a mixtures of opinions. Once kind of identified the budget constraints of how to proceed here. Right now, it is programmed in the budget as a lost expenditure to the amount of $75,000. There was some conversation about potentially, instead of doing that in fiscal year 27, potentially starting to set money aside for completion of the comprehensive plan in fiscal year 28 or 29. But I did hear most people say they did want to proceed with the comprehensive plan at $75,000 this coming fiscal year. So that's what's currently budgeted in there. If there's majority that feel otherwise, speak now, or it will continue to be budgeted that way.
I'm probably the minority, but I don't think we should budget that right now if we're our budgeted at 75 right now. I think we should wait just a little bit and figure out what 73rd Street looks like, and kind of then have a better grasp on what the city kind of has to offer and what else we can look at. Because we still have 2 years left on that comprehensive plan, correct?
There's not a deadline per se on any comprehensive plan, but it's 9 years old at this point. Best practice is around 10 years. Depends kind of on community and perspective and how far you've gotten in accomplishing the goals. So,
But it's gonna take a year to do it.
Yeah.
Or
At least
maybe longer than that.
probably 18 months.
I think the last one took 2.
Where are you getting the 75,000 number? I think you said before, but
75,000 would be pulled from lost.
I'm sorry. Where are you getting the estimate that it will cost $75,000?
We've talked to MIPA, who would be significantly cheaper than that, but the private market rates for doing a comprehensive plan are going to be closer to 75,000. If you look at the RDG comprehensive plan that we did 9 years ago, it was very close to that 75,000. There's a few bells and whistles in that. We got feedback from Bolton and Mink Engineering. Their cost estimate was a little bit more than 75,000. I've seen a couple other cities that have gone comprehensive plans with some comparability. Again, it depends how much you want to look at economic development pieces and redevelopment and what kind of public feedback you want. If you want to do a lot of that online, there's a bunch of website components that can be fairly expensive. If you want to bring consultants in for multiple meetings, that can be very expensive, but I'm confident you could do a good comprehensive plan for 75,000 and accomplish some of the economic development things that we might want to, and be able to consolidate some of the information infrastructure pieces in there in a way that's visually for folks off of that. Now, if they've got a wild hair halfway through that comprehensive plan, want to do a deep dive into something, you might be running a little tight, but I think generally speaking, 75,000 should be able to do the job.
Do we need to use those funds? Do we need to use lost funds for anything else in the next
I
spring?
mean, if you're gonna free it up, I can certainly find somewhere to put it.
Just curious if we needed to, if it would make sense to split it in half, if we know it's gonna take a while.
budget over 2 fiscal years or so. I have no opposition to
But does that
waiting
mean,
to start the process until the second half of fiscal year 27 and letting it roll into fiscal year 28. I'd put it over the winter time and
just more curious than anything? I mean, any contracts that I've ever had, I've never gotten the full payment up front, so I was thinking you could probably start in next fiscal year, but you probably do the final payment in the following fiscal year.
Cause I would kind of follow along with what I said, was splitting it up into 3 years, just taking the 3 and turning it into 2.
If we needed to make room to do something else in FY 27 with lost funds.
I mean, frankly, we're gonna have a very busy spring with 3 road reconstruction projects happening. I would love to kick this towards the end of summer at least. Or into the fall, winter, when things slow down a little bit to get it kicked off. And then that would, assuming it's about a 9-12 month process, lead into conclusion in fiscal year 28, presumably.
That's fine. I don't want it to go so that we're having this, lots of work on it be happening simultaneously with the budget. So I caution that. I don't have I mean, you can probably split it in 2 fiscal years if clients do that stuff all the time. So I don't think that's probably a big deal. Rochelle, when we visited about where would the extra dollars go, you said that into the road construction, right?
Normally, anything that's left over from lost goes into the CIP.
Right.
But if you had extra dollars that way, we could ease up the general fund by putting it into the general fund for, say, salaries that police and fire would like to have. So,
I'd like to have lots of things too.
well, I'm just saying, my budget is gonna be
Like maybe a
constrained.
fan.
Anything that they go over by,
Freezing by this window.
It's,
No, it's not.
It's kind of chilly right here too.
I'm sweating.
Seats.
It must be the ends here.
Having a hot
Not
flash.
getting any.
I'm having a hot flash. You just go on.
so anything they go over based on what we've already got, I don't have revenue for. So I'm gonna have to cut somewhere else. I'm gonna have to find revenue to cover.
So
So
run a deficit and
we will run a
use
deficit.
reserves,
And
which
use
there are
reserves.
reserves.
Yes, we have plenty of reserves. But
I guess if we could take it to road or to general fund, let's do it general fund. To help kind of ease the pain on this, I would feel better doing that than. That might help a little bit, ease the pain on that, but I don't want to take from reserves. Unless we absolutely have to. It just. Seems like you're just taking from savings to pay your mortgage and. That's never ends well.
and we have reserves because of these kinds of situations. So we are above the reserve level that we are what we've made the decision to be above. So we do have but you guys know me, I'm very conservative on that. I like to keep that where it is. And so if we had a little extra cushion, just a little bit of extra loss to ease that would be fantastic, but that's completely up to you guys.
So I'm in the same position. I don't like dipping into saving or, your reserves. I guess I think about it as savings for a rainy day, but my concern with the I lost my train of thought, those dollars for something.
Using lost for operations.
Well, I don't think we should use loss for operations either. I mean, that's the other challenge that I get, and these conversations aren't gonna get easier. And over the course, I know what I was gonna say. So is our reserves right now, so I know we have them at a certain level, but my question would be, since inflation and everything, when's the last time we looked at that number? And so is it realistic or is it not realistic?
It is realistic. It's 25% of your general fund operating budget. So that's what our reserves are, but ours are at actually about 35%, 37%. Now, the legislature is talking about making us spend down our reserves to 10%, which is,
Ridiculous.
okay, so anyway. That's another topic for another day. So, yeah, I agree that spending your lost dollars on operations is not a great idea. But at some point, I don't have very much choice because salaries are outpacing my revenues. My property tax revenues are being outpaced by salaries.
Well, and like I said, at some point in time, we'll have to make a decision as to what position doesn't exist anymore, because that's the reality of the situation that we'll be in, is what position has to be foregone to balance the budget.
Yes, it's true.
So we just have to be realistic about it.
And I do think
Can't spend more than you got.
those conversations are gonna have to start like soon for FY 28. Or sooner. So, But-
Plan.
Such an uplifting.
Well, the other side of it is you can ask the people to take no wage increases and everybody keeps their job. I mean, those are realistic things that happen out there often too.
We're still on the comp.
Are we? Are we, Mike?
Thanks, Mom.
Good, Mayor.
So there's a proposal to split the comprehensive plan expense in half for fiscal year 27 and incur the other half out of fiscal year 28, which may practically be how it occurs anyway, just based off of where we stand today, coming into the next budget year and getting ready to do it. I think if everybody's comfortable with that timeline for doing the comprehensive plan, the question is, do you want to utilize half of that 75,000 that was being set aside for the comp plan for some other purpose, whether that's operating or some other one-time expense, or does it just go back into the loss in the capital improvement fund?
I think it should just go back. Right?
That's what I think too.
Let's go back.
go back to what?
The ERP, the CIP, what it's
So go
supposed,
back
what its
into-
purpose is for.
So in fiscal year 28, we'll budget the other half of it coming out of lost.
So then you're gonna put you want this half of the 75 to go into the to the CIP, so you want it to go to roads.
Yes.
Got it.
Finance committee recommended, I think we have it down as about a $5,000 reduction to the elected official meeting and conference budgets. We did some reductions in the staff side. 5,000 equates to about almost 2 cents in the levy. So this was kind of that other piece of the levy reduction from 15 cents to 9 cents. So that practically means there'll be a little bit less money for going to the Des Moines Partnership DC trip, which we're getting on the tail end of our build grant cycle at this point. So there's a little bit less of a need for that. There's still lots of good things that come from it, but instead of sending 3 or 3.5 people each year, it might be closer to 2 or 2.5 people, or cutting back on some other conferences such as the League of Cities or Bravo events or other greater departmentship events. But there's still a fairly healthy budget in there, but that's the other piece of that levy rate reduction proposed for fiscal year 27. So if there's any concerns with that, certainly can talk about that some more. Otherwise, that's where that other piece is coming from. All right, those are kind of the main points for just the fiscal year 27 budget. We've got, maybe take a minute and see if anybody else has other ideas of where we should look. I know Chief Roth and I have talked a little bit about a couple of ideas, and Andy and I as well, doing a little more research into the vehicle fleet and overtime. Happy to talk about that more if there's interest now. Otherwise, if there's other elected official recommendations or suggestions, happy to take those now or provide any other feedback. If not, jump into the outside organization requests.
Did you want it? No,
Not hearing anything. Take it away, Rochelle.
no, I'm like, did you want to talk about the special events budget? Because this year it's 61,542.
So normally we just talk about each department's budgets. I guess the one thing to call out is we would have mentioned in that is just a reminder everybody of how special events budgeting works. The city contributes $40,000 annually. And then there's a fundraising effort each year that generates a certain amount of dollars. And whatever was generated the year previous by the fundraising grants, signups for parades carries over to the next fiscal year. So the city's budgeted proportion changes based off of the fundraising efforts the previous year, but there's a baseline $40,000 built into that year over year. And that was an adjustment council made a couple of years back to reflect the fundraising efforts that were going on and not to penalize those that are making those efforts and obtaining the funds to create the free events. But it is a real expense, so we'd have been mention it as an operating expense. We don't have any proposed changes to it. That formula, it was decided by council, but if there's comments, feedback, or desire to change that, those are dollars that would be in play just like anything else, so.
Are we spending it all?
The current budget is being spent.
When it's not spent, it goes back into the reserves
Well,
essentially.
it always has been spent. So,
Not every penny, surely.
yes,
Every penny.
yes.
Susan's
Because,
good, but she's not that good.
well, Susan's really good because we spend what we can for the next fiscal year. So we zero out the budget and then it's pays for things for the next fiscal year.
So there's not a lot left, but I'm guessing.
No, there's none left, but it's paying for next year.
So like we already are paying for all of the movies in the park, for a lot of the fall festival, for anything that we Earth Day, no, not Earth Day, but anything that we can, that I can get paid through this fiscal year.
It's paying for next fiscal year.
Yeah.
So anything you did this year is going to affect the next year's stuff. So you have a year to ease into any sort of cuts if you made any cuts.
So I think the conversation was around, we initially made a $40,000 investment, right?
Yes.
And which is kind of where and kudos to you, Susan, everybody is always impressed by your fundraising. The question is how much do you need to have appropriated to fund the line items? I mean, that's the question, knowing that you had a, $21,000 fundraising pot.
It's hard to tell. I mean, if we did fiscal year like a regular person did from January to end of December, it would be a lot easier figuring out the budgeting because we do pay ahead. So it's hard for me to really.
Well, but you should be able to, I mean, Rochelle, you should be able to know, like, this is actually is for this, this is for actually next fiscal year. So then I would put that question is just like, if it's not there this time, then do you just pay it out in the fiscal year that it's actually happening in? Sounds like you've just been paying ahead because you have the dollars to do it. Is that fair?
And that's how basically you have to, because you have to, for some things you have to.
Sure, right. I get that.
Yeah.
But you should be able to look and say, here were the actual expenses that happened for these actual events. I don't care if it's what is their time frame. So we should know this is how much we actually spent for special events for calendar. You can pick it by calendar year. You can assign all those expenses. So I guess that's the question. So if we could get a dollar figure of what are we spending, or what's been the last 3 years for actual spend for each one of those fiscal years.
I would say it's between 50 and 55.
Yes, every year.
I mean, I can give you the exact amounts, but going off the top of my head, that's because I always budget, I always leave about 5,000 to 7,000 for,
Emergency
Like-
water slides?
yes.
Yeah.
Or bands or whatever come in.
Yeah, I get the having the, the holdover. I get it. I'm just thinking, what do we? If we have to, if we're looking to cut back in areas, is that an area because it's such a significant bump? Because I think the goal was to have that fundraising be a part of it, and you reported earlier, that's, people are grateful for that, and
It just.
that's a big budget. I mean, that's a salary. So.
Car.
It's a car. I heard that bikes are really fashionable these days.
Well, we don't know what it is. We don't know what each thing costs though, right? You can't tell us that.
We could-
You didn't.
Well, I think what is happening is she's spending this, the committee is spending what's available. So if there's 50 available, they're spending 50. If there's 55, they're spending 55.
I guess my question is, you can't tell me what,
The actual expenses are.
well, Fall Festival costs $25,000, Windsor Wonderland costs 10. You can't,
Yes,
sitting
you-
right now, you
yes.
can't tell me.
I can't tell you this.
Okay,
second, but-
that's what I think that's what I'd be curious to know.
Yes.
Me too.
I think that's maybe what,
And for me, there's things that I don't know about because there's incidentals like ice
Sure.
being bought, so there's things that I've got to try to look on a page and figure out.
So we can get together an accounting of individual events over time that goes into it, incidentals, the cost of the movie rentals, we can get to that. That should be a fairly quick thing we can pull together for everybody and email it out. Is that
Yes,
fair?
but combined, you're just spending what is available.
I think we understand.
Outside organization events or outside organizations. So this is online, if your computer still has battery on it. The total amount available for fiscal year 27 is $15,000. That is hotel motel, which those revenues are down. Finance committee recommendations are in red in the last column. Be the chamber funded for the 3,250 as it was last year. The Children's Museum funded at $2,000 and $2,500. There's also some opportunities through Bravo for them to get some reimbursement for activities they participate in Windsor Heights, which are a lot. Greater Des Moines Partnership at $1,500 as was last year. Impact $2,500 as last year. Nothing budgeted for the sister city travel. I think the conversation a year ago was evaluate those opportunities as they arise. Uplift $10,000 allocated from unallocated lost funds. So there's some leftover lost funds that have not yet been allocated for the current fiscal year. Is that correct, Rochelle?
Yeah, there's $48,000. I don't always allocate it all because we don't know exactly what we're gonna get, so I leave a little bit of room, but $10,000 is, I can almost guarantee there'll be $10,000.
I'm going to skip the foundation for the moment. YMCA, no recommended financial contribution for their fundraising efforts for the capital improvements, but we did have on the agenda today a donation of the community center for a weekday rental. Chief Mees and Andy both putting together, I think, a package for the silent auction they're doing as well for a ride to school with some asterisks on either an engine or a dump truck. So kudos to them for that. So I think there's some non-direct financial contributions we're working towards in our partnership there. Nothing recommended for YSS. And so unallocated then is $5,250. And that leaves you with the other outstanding request is the Windsor Heights Foundation and what you would like to allocate, if anything, to the foundation for fiscal year 27. There are
Two things. One, I thought we scratched the partnership 1,500
Well,
because we're
It was a lot of in and outs, and so I just, what was on my notes, if that was incorrect, then let's fix it.
because we already are member through the chamber.
But I thought we discussed the fact that several cities are also direct members of the partnership, that there's a, right, AJ, weren't you explaining that that was the?
That's my understanding. I'm not, there may be cities in the greater Des Moines metro area that are not members, but the vast majority I'm aware of are members. Now, most communities also have more ground available for development, which is a major space that they play in. We do not have that. There are, of course, redevelopment opportunities. They are a collaborative organization that do some lobbying and other pieces of information that we use, as well as the DC trip. But yes, I think the point was made that we do get a discount for going to the DC trip by being a member. That may not be a true benefit because we are individually members through the chamber as well. So regionalization conversation, I guess, of whether that is a contribution we want to make. But my understanding is most cities are a member, and the amount of that membership is to a degree fungible. And we are definitely on the lower end of that contribution as it stands in fiscal year 26.
Is there any benefits to that, or is it just, this is what everyone else does, so this is what we do?
There's the discount.
Unlisted as far as I'm aware, but they do host events pertaining all sorts of economic development and other regionalizations that you get invited to as a member. They'd probably still let you attend as a non-member. Never been in that situation before to answer that, I guess.
To clarify, do you get the discount for the DMDC and for the partnership dinner? Do you get that being part of the Urbandale Chamber anyway?
Unclear. There's an argument that you would, though.
Well, it seems like we should, why don't we figure that out?
You know, anybody who works in membership at Urbandale?
They're actually coming they're coming to city council in April, I believe. So asking that question then if you'd like.
Partnership is.
Yes.
So I think to your point, when I see the partnership emails, whether I'm getting them as a chamber member or I'm assuming that's why I'm getting them, but I like always look at it and I'm like, what value, right? Like, I just I don't know. I mean, hell, I'd rather give it to the Urbandale Chamber. I mean, the Urbandale Windsor Heights Chamber than. I just don't know that there's what the value is. If somebody could demonstrate the value, because to your point, Adam, they're not recruiting businesses to come in and be in our space and whatever. So I don't know.
The only thing I can think of, and this would be something because businesses are also part of the chamber, would be that they have a lot of small business, like Spark. They have a few other things that I can't remember.
We've had a
what they're
couple
called.
summits that I've gone to.
Yeah, you know,
Regional summits.
so there are some of those things, but could you also, like Therese said, is that coming with the chamber membership as well? Or, you know, or are we as the city giving that to them because we're thankful that they're trying to help small businesses? I don't know.
Or do we see it as a similar view of how we see DART or something else that's regional that we want to support with a nominal amount of money compared to other things that we could be spending money on, but also part of the larger regional package?
Yeah, I mean, if we're to be considered an investor, is that what we're considered? So like what this is?
We're listed under their investor page, I believe.
Not on this PDF. It's 2026.
There's somebody said something to them about it. Like Windsor Heights.
Yeah, we're not on this PDF here. Okay, we're not known to hold grudges here, so.
Not at all.
But no, we're definitely not on the PDF. You can go down to the.
Well, the 15,000 is budgeted in the big budget, so how you divide it doesn't matter, so it can be a discussion for another day. If we wanted to move on.
I guess.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about the foundation?
Have they submitted any yes. Have they submitted any requests?
They did. they asked for $5,000.
But they've been made aware of what's in the note section.
They have not been made aware of what's in the notes section that I'm aware of.
Well,
we said that.
we said this.
We-
We said
yeah.
this years ago.
Multiple
Well, I'm
times.
just saying,
So yes,
I didn't
2 years
speak to
ago,
anything.
there was a conversation when the policy was made to
I'm gonna attack on you.
go to 5,000 to whatever's that, don't have the section pulled up again there. I pulled up.
So we're gonna go to 3,500 and then 2,000.
3,500 to 2,000. They were made aware of that. And then last year, I think we got a request for 5 or 10,000 and council awarded them 3,500 again, I think it was.
Yes.
So there's that in play, I guess, is we told them one thing 2 years ago. We did something a little bit different. I think when we looked at what we were funding some other organizations that were non-Windsor Heights centric in fiscal year 26. So their expectation right now is they've requested 5,000 and are awaiting an answer or feedback, I guess. But they've got that information from 2 years ago, and they've seen what we gave them in fiscal year 26.
So my position on the foundation has been, we make a financial contribution, but I think it's like, I'd like to know, like, how much money they're raising compared to what percentage we're giving them. I mean, maybe that's a fair question to ask when they come in or something, but I just think it's a lot different than when I first moved to Windsor Heights, where there was just a lot more things happening, and it seems to kind of be not as prominent maybe as it once was, and I don't know. So
It feels like, from my perspective, that the foundation is falling short on some of their other fundraising stuff. Like they've got their kickoff for their concert series later this month. And like, I haven't seen anything on Facebook about it. Like, are
They
they?
just canceled it
Oh,
because they had no sponsors. Found that out today.
got it. And then like the luminaries, like it's kind of like very like rushed at the end and
Loosey.
stuff. And say again?
loosey goosey.
Yeah, and so, you know, I know that they get great turnout for the concerts. I know they do a good job of passing the water jug of collecting donations at their events, but when we told them this is what to expect from us in the future, I don't think that changed their fundraising tactics in the last couple of years. So
Would you like to invite them to present, or would you like me to follow up with some requests for information before making a decision?
Useful.
I mean, I think they're just gonna show up. I think they're gonna show up in,
2,000, yeah,
yeah, I think
2,000.
yeah.
Consensus on 2,000?
Yep.
That does leave you with an unallocated amount of $3,250 from hotel motel tax. If you'd like to leave that unallocated, there was a portion left unallocated last year, or redirect any of those towards other requests. Did I miss something there?
How much was?
$3,250 at least. If the Greater Des Moines Partnership isn't funded, then I guess plus another 1,500.
The only other thing is, the finance committee decided no to YSS, but if someone else had proclivity to give to YSS, please say it now, or it's going to stay at none. They did ask for 5,000. YSS.
So Uplift, I don't have a question on YSS, but Uplift, so the $10,000 that we're giving them is from Lost,
Unallocated
not
lost, yeah,
from this
no.
little thing here. Okay. My math isn't mathing, so.
So don't include that 10,000 in the whole available amount.
You good?
I believe so. We'll leave the remainder unallocated. Time being.
Motion to adjourn, sorry.
I had one question. Can that go to special events? That money's, or is that two separate buckets? Because I think it's not our job to keep funding the foundation, but if we eventually have to cut back special events, if that's something that we need to do, and we're cutting the foundation, those are two things that are bringing people into the community that are now no longer getting the funding. So if we're not going to give it to the foundation, and Nights in the Heights starts to fall off, can we at least put that back to boost up our own events?
Yes.
Is that something we can do?
It's funds that you can use, yes.
That's just a question.
Good question.
Fletcher's gonna think of a new special event he wants to host and manage.
Nope.
I was gonna say.
You're a quick learner.
Next time is,
Work sessions are on
We know.
record.
Adjourn.
For a second.
The only thing we haven't made the decision on is this, I'm sorry, saying shut up. It is the levy at 14. Are we good with the 14.30 as the levy? I have to know that for the next council meeting.
Can you make it closer to 13,
I can't.
12?
No. 15?
14?
10, that's where.
14.30.
Sold to the highest bidder.
Have a hard bargain.
Like
Roll call. Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yeah.
Fletcher Berry.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Tracy Harms.
Yes.
that.
Brutal.
Painful.